Hello, hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. We made it almost the end of the week here. Back for another episode of Bricks and Beyond, a creator showcase series. As a reminder, this series of episodes highlights members of the LEGO community, giving everybody the opportunity to get to know the person behind the account. Tonight I have a duo. I was talking to one of the two yesterday, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get both, but I do have both. So let me bring them in here. Is in practice here, so we shall see what happens. Hello. All right.
Oh,
Now let me see if I can get the other half of the duo here. Hopefully this works. Let's see. All right. Invite sent. You didn't get any notification for that, did you?
I did, yes.
Oh, you did? Okay. Do you think your brother would too?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens here. All right. Grinch, if you didn't get the invitation, can you try to send me a request to join? Sorry, this is first time with two accounts here, so this is a tricky one. So it's a learning experience for us all. All right. I am not seeing anything from that end. Let me try inviting again. I'm gonna feel really bad if this doesn't work because
It is.
what? Hey, there we go, hot dog.
I
How
guess
are
I
you?
can't use my desktop. Sorry about that.
So it was you that was causing the problems.
That's how it usually goes.
Yeah, you know what? I thought it was funny because I had you and I were talking yesterday. Uh oh, he's frozen.
I'm back.
He's back. There he is. I said I had you yesterday, and when I got the call tonight, I said, wait a second, I wasn't expecting this. So I'm going to introduce you guys here. For those of you that don't know, this is the duo of AFOLs. Welcome. If you're not familiar with them, they are on YouTube, podcast on YouTube. Great, 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 great listen. So definitely they'll give you all the info here at the end for you guys to make sure you check them out. Follow them or subscribe to them. I think that's the YouTube term. I always forget which gets what, but it's all the same concept. Anyways, I'm going to start out with an interesting question. I'm sure you guys have been asked this before. Names: Grinch and West. Where do we get those from?
My parents really liked Christmas growing. No, I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
I was wondering if it had a Christmas vibe.
My real name is Grant,
Okay.
and Grinch was a nickname I was not too fond of in high school.
Okay.
That ended up sticking with a couple of close friends,
Gotcha.
and later in life, as so often as you recollect those cringe moments from high school, you kind of hang on to them and think about them differently. So I just embraced it, and now it's now
Yep.
it's just a nickname. So
Yep.
um years ago, when I was coming up with YouTube channel, because that's where I started before the podcast, was
Yes.
just a YouTube channel, and I was trying to come up with a name, and I told my wife, and I were kind of going through a couple ideas, and I was like, well, I just like Grinch, just Grinch, and of course there's just too good, and so I was like, well, I can't do just too good, like just too Grinch, or that was not the intent. I was like, but I
Yeah.
like just Grinch, I was like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
Grinch. And well, she was like, well, why don't you just do like plain Grinch? And I was like, well, like like plain old Grinch. And she was like, yeah, do that. So then that
I
became the
gotcha.
YouTube name was plain old Grinch.
Oh,
So
nice. Okay.
um so now I just do
Yeah.
Grinch because it's rebrand, it's easier.
Fitting. I like it. All right, and then West.
Yeah, well, so my name is Ian, and uh, the story behind West is really kind of silly. I just needed kind of like a name to use. I just wanted something I could throw down on something to throw away and um, not really connect me to all of these emails and spam and stuff.
Sure.
And
Yep.
I just tried to come up with like the silliest name possible, and I thought West Winterfresh was pretty ridiculous, and so um, that sort of has become my personal profile, my Instagram profile, and then
Yep.
the name. When we started this, we agreed we didn't want to use our real names, openly. Although
Sure.
for the careful listeners, they'll have caught a few slips
Okay. Yeah.
here, to include even one on the latest episode, which is always funny because you'll see one of us like our eyes will go wide when we the other person says our name.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Now that's how when I started, that's I was not going to use my name, and then I quickly found how hard it is, like to refer to yourself and like that. I don't want to say third person, but I just started using my name and I just ran with it because
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I do like I love which we'll get into the podcast later, but I love the layout that you guys have on the podcast. How how it's set up with the hearts and the names and everything. Whose idea was that for that
all,
style?
all Grant's idea. He
Okay,
Who's,
pioneered that.
who's Grant?
I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I mean, Grinch. You mean?
yeah. Sorry, apologies.
Wow. Wait, I didn't see the eyes. Where were the eyes? Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go, guys. Sorry. No,
Fantastic.
I knew we wanted to do an animated background,
Okay.
and I was kind of thinking of like, what's it's a podcast and it's a duo, right? So there's both of us on there, right? And I was like, well, what's Lego in a duo? I was kind of thinking of like the classic like Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat,
Yep.
screen and I was like, well, what about like the Lego video game?
Oh yeah.
And
Okay.
so that's where that came in. Then I just used a little animator to make the little animated heart kind of go
Okay.
up and down like it does in the video
Yeah. Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
debated putting like a stud counter on there too, like as
Oh,
the
that'd be cool.
episode went on, but that was a little bit harder to program to not just have like a GIF running back and forth. So
Sure.
the goal wasn't to be like overly distracting and just kind of like subtle.
Yeah, I
Um,
get it.
ob-
Yep.
Obviously we're called AFOLs Welcome, so adult fans of Lego. So,
Yep.
we're going for something that's like fun, but also mature,
Sure.
if you would.
Yeah. Sure. I got that vibe, so I get it. um. Yeah. So, like I said, we'll get into the podcast in a little bit. What I like to do is I always like to start off, get a little background on you guys, and as I mentioned, you're the first duo that I've had, and it makes it even better that you're brothers. So. Um, you don't need to tell where exactly you're from, but what part of like what locale are you in the United States?
What? Um, well,
Very subtle.
we
East, Midwest, or West?
we are we
West. No.
we grew up in the East Coast.
Okay.
It might rhyme with Washington, EC.
Man,
And now
not
we've
subtle at
lived
all.
all over though, so that doesn't really,
Yeah.
yeah, that doesn't really, yeah.
Yep.
So, but we're both in Eastern time zone currently, but I just moved from California,
Oh, nice. Okay.
so we've
Okay.
been all over.
So are you guys close to each other then, where you get to see each other often, or?
I would say we're probably on the opposite ends of the Eastern time zone.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know where DC is in the comment section. Don't know that area of the Eastern time zone. Um, So, where each of you guys are, do you guys have any Lego stores, bricks and minifigs, lugs around you guys that you regularly visit, or are you like pretty far from them?
Do you want to go, Wes?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, we do. We actually have one opening up really close by, which is
Okay.
exciting. But we have one. I'm in kind of a weird area on a peninsula that, so there's like lots of bridges and tunnels to kind of get to where we're, connected to. And so some days the Lego store is 30 minutes away if I catch the traffic right, and other times it's an hour and a half away.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um, I moved from Omaha, and we did not
Oh,
have a
nice.
Lego at the time.
Okay.
Do now,
Of
which
course.
is great. As soon as I
Yeah, of
left,
course.
that's how it works, right?
That's how
And so,
everything works.
but yeah, we have some local shops and stuff. I haven't really engaged in the lugs because, as we've talked about on the podcast, I'm about to move again next summer to
Okay.
another fun area with no bricks and minifigs and no Lego
Gotcha.
stores. So
Okay.
that's exciting. But
Well, good. Yeah. Yeah.
so anyway,
Well, that's what the internet's for, right?
exactly. It's what I visit Grinch for, is to go and shop at the Lego store and the bricks and minifigs, and then sometimes even in his basement. So
Yeah, we
Oh, now
uh
has that been something that's been revealed? The basement?
yeah, it's on the I still will occasionally post videos on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
And in
Yeah, I
fact, one of my more successful videos is like ranking all the Marvel sets worst to best every year.
I
So
did see that
I'm
one.
like
Yep.
debating if I got to do that again this year. I
Okay.
probably will.
Okay.
But I've been recently been doing like just a update because I did a total overhaul of my
Sure.
display. So I've been how many display cases are down there? I don't know, like a 35.
Phew. Okay.
They're a little skinnier. They're if you use the Billy book case
Yeah.
as like your classic case, it's not 35 of those. It's
Yep.
probably 25 of
Okay.
those equivalent. So
I just recently found out I did some of the Billies and we put the glass doors on them,
yep,
and it's a mistake because stuff can't hang off now. So now it's like everything I collect is so big it can't like smush in there, and so it kind of limits what you can use those for. And then the PAX units, I mean, those things are just
they're gigantic.
monsters. I mean,
I have
monsters.
packs as well, and I move every 18 months to 24 months, and they just
Okay.
didn't move because they're
Yeah.
closets. And
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
you're literally moving a closet, and they're not meant to be moved. So I actually
No.
made a custom one
Oh, nice.
this
Okay.
go around. Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm doing custom doors. I'm gonna make a special video on those
Ooh.
doors just for you, so you can see what I
Okay.
did.
I'll be waiting for it. Now, will you come and install too? Because I'm not the
Uh,
handiest person.
if I do have to come and install, it's gonna be cheaper to just do the Billy doors.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's what I use. My father-in-law, he's pretty handy, so I usually depend on him because I'm not handy at all. So, um, all right. So let's start with Little Grinch and Little West. All right. So what's the age gap between you guys?
just a little under 3 years.
Okay. And who's the older?
I am.
You're the older. Okay. All right. So growing up,
Hmm.
how'd we do with each other? Did we, as Lego is meaning to be, did you guys play well? Or did we not play well?
Yeah, we're in an interesting age gap where it's tough because so much generationally changes even within 3 years.
Mhm.
So, but one of the things that was really unique, I think, for Grinch and I growing up was our shared love of Lego. Even as kids, was certainly, that wasn't the only thing, but a very strong
Sure.
kind of bond. I thought we played well. I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
other
Yeah. Uh,
recollections. We don't remember the same thing the same way.
yep.
That's expected with brothers, but yeah, that I thought we always did. We there'd be it was rare. We didn't really have any arguments or anything. I
Sure.
think maybe over Hogwarts,
Okay.
but
We had an argument, and we talked about it on the show one time, but we were at Target, and I really wanted the 2001 soccer stadium,
Okay.
mm,
and Wes really wanted the MTT Battle Droid
Okay.
carrier.
mm,
So it's right around that time episode one was coming out, and our parents were like, "You guys can pick one set," which, like, you
Uh,
know, Wes is a parent, Keith, I know you're a parent. I'm about to be
yep.
like parenting lesson that I learned back then, like just get two sets. Easy. It's just that much. So
Yeah.
I think we
Yep.
got a pretty big argument about it, and
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
all I'll say is we got the soccer stadium. But we had fun with it. We had fun with it.
Now, did you ever think that could be a nice, or Wes, do you have the set that you didn't get, or could that be a nice Christmas gift as a you know?
Oh man, hey, what are you all in cahoots on this or
Yeah.
something?
Thank you for putting that
Hey,
in.
hey,
Uh,
I always tell everybody I'm just here for
yeah.
support. So
No,
you
I
need
start
me,
going,
I'm the guy.
Jerry, Jerry, Jerry.
I never got that.
Oh,
I'm okay with that. The old Star Wars stuff just does not hold up super well. So,
yeah.
um, and I think we probably played with the Lego soccer set more than, I mean, we really enjoyed those sports sets.
Oh
Those were a
yeah.
lot of.
Did you guys ever have the basketball ones?
Mm-hmm.
I had one. I had a small one. I didn't have the big one. I think I had like the street basketball one,
Yeah,
and so it was like
yeah.
the 2v2. That one was
That's
a great
that's
little.
the ones where you can bend the figures back and then it
Mhm.
it shoots. Yeah, I always thought those were really neat. I haven't come across any, but yeah, I think it's a really cool concept that we haven't really seen much of anything even close to that. Um, since when? I mean, when did those come out?
2000,
Oh, that had been
Yeah.
2000 to
2002, I
two or
think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, I know there's been the stadiums, but even with the stadiums, I mean, I'm sure it's a licensing thing, but I think that'd be really cool. I mean, you see all these knockoff stadiums, like I don't know what is it FOCO or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They make those little ones, and I said, how cool would it be to see like an actual like baseball stadium or football stadium made out of Lego? Um,
It's a shame because I think some Lego could do something like make official instructions, but maybe not sell the set. You know,
yeah,
almost like
Yeah.
brickable a little bit, where like
that's yeah,
maybe their concern would be like a market size or something, or I don't know. But to your point, like it would be super possible for them to. There'd be a huge, market for it. Well, not a huge market. There'd be a large market, but it would be a bunch of like micro markets within the market.
yeah.
So it'd be a little
Yeah,
strange.
but to that point, I think what you just said is I mean, I don't know logistically how it works, but that's a valid idea. Is for them to have their own, I want to say maybe sub department where they just sell instructions. So somebody designs the set and then tells you what you need, kind of like a rebrickable, and then they sell it that way, and then you have to get your own bricks.
Yeah.
Um, it's an interesting. I don't think rebrickable would appreciate.
Maybe like
But
buy
well,
rebrickable
yeah.
and then
I mean, yeah, yeah, certainly possible. Yeah, I mean, they
corner
when,
the market.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they have BrickLink, so yeah. Why don't you get rebrickable too? Um, all right. So, do you remember like so other than the sports sets? Do you remember any of the other sets you guys had? Maybe like pirates or castles or anything like that growing up?
I felt like we were kind of lucky because we never bought a ton of
Okay.
sets. I mean, we had sets, right? But we did a lot of creative building on our own because I
Okay.
believe it was your preschool teacher, right, Wes, that gave us like her son's collection
Oh,
or her
nice.
son's like hand-me-down
Yeah.
Lego. So we literally had just a giant swimming pool that we had that in. Our
Oh, cool.
parents were like, "Here you go."
Yeah.
And so like we would get some sets as they came out, but it was, maybe 4 or 5 a year, and like
Okay.
adult Grinch is like
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 a month
Yeah.
on release weeks, 4 or 5 in a
I
day.
yeah, in a day.
It's so it's
Oh,
very different now than it was back then. But yeah, back then it was just we just like any holiday, the holidays coming up, right?
yep.
So like any holiday was like we opened presents, and then it was like we just I think spent the next 5 days building Lego. And I kind of
Yeah.
remember the holiday based off of like what we were building or doing at the time. There was a
Yeah,
couple where
sure.
we just had giant Star Wars battles because
Oh, cool.
at that point we did have more sets.
Yeah. Yep. It tends to be a topic I seem to come across with a lot of people. Um, the creativity with Lego is dwindled. I would say from like a set standpoint, like almost everything Lego now is a set, and there's not much in the classic realm or stuff that encourages creativity. And I wish that was something that they could start pushing more, is more sets along those lines where, you know, maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 3D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 3D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that, or maybe like a 2D model or something like that I don't want to say like a 3-in-1, but more of just like, here's a giant tub of bricks. Maybe here's some ideas. Go build. It just doesn't seem like there's a lot of that anymore. And obviously, mock building is huge, and that I think bringing those people into um, maybe into Lego could definitely be beneficial to start seeing more of that kind of stuff. Any thoughts on that?
We had a really unique take on it because our dad was in kind of heavy industry in the early 90s, and like heavy industrial construction and like
Okay.
international. And so when we were when he was home and we were building Legos, he kind of our one of our biggest kind of contributors to like inspiration. And we had those old castle, and they might have been from even space, but like rampart pieces,
Yeah.
and old 90-degree angle ones, and we would build towers with them. And or he would take the castle pieces, the gray kind of castle wall pieces, and we would build big buildings with those, like skyscrapers.
Okay.
And then and so we just kind of we just sort of did open building at that
Yep.
point in time, and really didn't focus. I mean, we had sets, but we didn't really focus on collecting them or
Sure.
building them. And we started really collecting them in the early 2000s and stuff as kind of younger or older kids, adolescents. Some of us we'd just tear apart and throw right into the big
Yep.
swimming.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because when you think about it, like a lot of us in our age were like the original mock builders.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't termed that. So it's funny, and now there's actually a term for it, and
Hmm.
there's the categories for that. Do either of you guys still do? Do either of you do any free building, any mock building now, or are you guys pretty much what you do sets or mix?
So I will still build occasionally. It just building takes so long. When I got back out of my dark ages, I like kind of just dove into everything
Yep.
and had a city, was doing mock building, was collect, and I was like, okay, I am also an adult now, so I can't do everything. So I kind of
Yeah.
refocused it. So when I find that I have additional free time than I would normally, that you would budget for my normal week of free time, for example, that's when I'll be like, okay, what have I been working on? I built a couple of mocks for like Lego ideas,
Oh, nice.
but
Okay.
it's more of like
Yeah.
project based now versus just like I'm gonna sit down and build something. It's like I've got to have something in mind, and I've probably already been building it, for a little
Sure.
bit. And like I built like a Valorant because I really liked Valorant. I played it for a while, so I built like a Valorant map for
Okay.
Lego ideas.
Oh, cool.
And I want to build. I built it on Studio, but I want to build it in real
Okay.
life because it was rejected from Lego Ideas because the IP was inappropriate, apparently. So I'm not bitter about
Yeah.
that at all. So um, I do enjoy doing it. So I do try to do it. It's
Sure.
just it can take so long.
I know.
It's literally there's no time into it, right? So it's
Yeah.
just as
Yep.
long as you want it to
Yep.
take, which is good and bad.
I agree. Wes, how about you? Any?
Not particularly. More modifying. I have
Okay.
Grinch like that, but I do enjoy
Thanks.
modifying
Oh,
the modulars. I don't get to every single one of
okay.
them, but just subtle things here and there. And but to Grinch's point, like it takes a lot. And I tried kind of having a city set up. It's difficult. And if you're trying to mill something, like just it's super parts intensive. And then it's hard to kind of draw the line. One of the debates we've had on our podcast is the debate of scale and realism, and like
Yeah.
where are you okay with sort of making something up? Like, well, this car doesn't have windows. Am I okay with that, or do I want to build in windows with a 1x2 clear brick? But then at that point, I'm losing space for minifigures. And it's just
Yeah.
you're kind of constant
Yeah.
battle. Like, where do you pick and choose? And I don't. It's tough. It's hard. I think, especially for someone who's for anyone who's got an eye for detail. It's hard to capture that, and again, know where you're okay with the boundary between make believe and real life.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's hard.
Yeah.
So anyways, to answer your question, no, I don't do a ton. I left most of my collection back in Omaha.
Okay.
sister-in-law, and so right now I just have a little bit of a backlog here that I'm working through, but also just kind of building up at the same time.
Yeah,
So
sure.
yeah,
So, you said you guys both have kids, right?
I do. Yes,
Okay,
I have
you okay.
a toddler.
Mine's in the mail on the way.
Yeah,
Post
All
office
right.
is taking 9 months to deliver it.
yeah.
Oh, so you're up in Canada then?
Yeah, yeah.
I had to jab the Can. We have a couple of
Close.
Canadians.
Close.
So any plans on, I don't want to say pushing, but like I just realized my son, he's going to be 8, and I realized that I didn't even know Duplo blocks were out there. So we had like those big black bags of Mega Blocks. And looking back, I was like, oh man, I wish I would have known about the Duplo sets. So, and do you guys have any Duplo sets or any plans on like getting into that aspect of things, or gonna skip over that phase?
I do. We have a few. Our dogs seem to enjoy them more than our toddler, and so a few of them have some bite marks on
Okay.
them.
Yeah.
But I did just find a really cute one. We're not quite at the potty training phase yet, but it's a little elephant Duplo set with a
Hmm.
bathtub and a toilet, and
Okay, I think I've seen that. Yeah.
it's like, all right, like, okay, maybe I can like use these and show her how to, you know, start
Hey,
that process, right? So, right,
potty training tutorial on the podcast with the Duplo.
yeah, we can get into some stop motion
Uh,
animation. That'll be our next project.
I'll do the editing and the
uh,
sound effects.
I'm looking forward to this. All right, so I'll just wrap it up before we get in the podcast. So, Grinch, you said you had a city, or do you still have a city?
You know, I had a winter village actually. So there were
Okay.
so many cities out there that I said, that I want to do a winter. I want to do something different. And so I went the winter village route, and it was pretty. It's pretty big. This is before they redesigned road plates, so
Hmm.
I milled everything.
Okay.
And so for the listeners that are unaware of milling, it's just where you kind of build up the base plate so that there's depth to it, so that it's about a brick and a plate tall, so that you can add, you know, depth kind of below sea level if you would, or above it, or however, so you can hide wires and everything. So I did that because there's a lot of terrain, and I
Sure.
ballasted my train track, and um, just quickly realized how much time that takes. I had a nice suspension bridge that I built for it,
Oh,
and
nice.
um, I became very aware of the Winter Village sets
Okay.
and their faults in scale very
Sure.
quickly,
Yep.
because the first three were pretty much done. Like, they must have been designed together, like, hey,
Okay.
these are the first three sets that are coming out, right?
Sure.
Within the same kind of month, pretty is my suspicion, just because of how tightly designed they
Okay.
are system wise, right? And then after that, it was just kind of the Wild West. And so trying to get everything to fit in its own system was a bit of a challenge. So, like Wes was talking about with making a city, like, where do you kind of give
Yeah.
the scale a little bit and really stick
Yep.
to it, or how do you define it? So that always bothered me. And then I just was like, I'm just too busy with my job, and
Sure.
I really want to focus on, I have a passion for displaying the Lego. So I was like, how can I make that better?
Okay.
So I've done stuff like build minifigure stands,
Oh, yeah.
out of wood, right? Because buying minifigure stands is a pain, and they're never
Yep.
quite right.
Yep.
But I was like, well, I'll just make them. So you can't make them and do a city and build a custom cap. You just can't.
I know.
Time is
Not
a
enough
great
hours
great
in the day.
equalizer, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, well, I really enjoy doing that. It's something that I don't have to feel like I'm on a deadline to
Sure.
do. I can just, if I'm traveling a lot for work, I can just pick it up when I get back and not feel like I'm late or delayed, or
Sure. Yep.
having something pile
Yep.
up. So
Makes sense. All right, and then West, I'll give you one last one here. So you've modified modular. What has been your favorite? Which modular is your favorite, and what has been your favorite modification?
Oh, that's a great question. Uh, Favorite modular is tough. Um, they're all great and they're all frustrating.
Yep,
Uh,
get that.
and and I think that's one of the things I've not struggled with, but as I got into the collecting of them, I started with the Parisian Cafe, and that one was so much fun to build, and just love the details, and it's, it's a fairly big set,
Mhm.
so it was great. And I think I got right into the Assembly Square, and another really fun set. And then you start to just look at the building, and you're like, why is the roof on the middle building just open in the back? And there's like a kitchen in here, but it's like kind of strange.
Yep.
And you're like, but then you have to go through the bakery to go up into the dentist, photographer. Like it just, you're like, okay, this stuff isn't adding up. It doesn't feel way too compressed.
Yep.
There's no elevators. Now that they're introducing like disabled minifigures, like none of these buildings are American with Disabilities Act compliant. There's no ramps. There's no elevators for public access. I'm like, this is a problem. Where's the city inspector to?
There's a minifigure to wheelchair, so he's just SOL.
Yeah, yeah.
You do know the ripple effect you're making in the Lego City world right now. I mean, there's probably people with their heads bursting with your comments.
So I haven't been able to reconcile all of that, but I have grand plans to put elevators into these buildings and more bathrooms because
Yes, please,
um,
please, yeah.
but it's difficult and it's but okay, but to answer your question, the one that I think I'm excited for is I really liked the pet shop, the apartment building, and
Okay.
I took that, kind of really modified the front of it using those new curved windows, which
Oh, okay.
really great. But I really like the technique introduced in the new Tudor house for that curved window,
Yeah, yeah, I'm
and
excited for that one.
I'm going to use that instead of just using the bricks and kind of stacking them up front. It looks a little
Okay.
cleaner in the way I've done it. So TBD.
Yeah, fair enough. I'd like to, by the way, if you guys have any pictures of any of your stuff, I'm just gonna say stuff, send it my way because you have me curious in some of the things you've been mentioning. So, um, all right. So I did a little looking at the YouTube page. So Grinch, so you started the YouTube page about what, 2 years ago? Does that sound right?
Three,
Three? Okay.
three,
So
yeah.
what was because I thought I had scrolled back far, maybe I didn't. So what was your very first backtrack? What was your reasoning for starting the YouTube and what was your first video that you did?
Oh, my first video. The reason I started the YouTube was I'd always liked doing video editing. I've always enjoyed it.
Okay.
And I think when I kind of got out of my dark age as an adult and started building Lego again, the YouTube and even the social media scene were very different for Lego.
Sure.
Like the whole LAN was very new. Like Eurobricks was like very prominent back then too. I
Okay.
don't hear anybody talk about
No.
Eurobricks anymore. It's a website, it's a forum, like it's the OG like AFOL
Yeah,
area was
sure.
Eurobrick. So I had a Eurobrick account, and I mean the YouTube scene was very consolidated.
Okay.
I mean, there was like four or five people that like everybody kind of watched, and then like the
Sure.
one-offs that no, like that just were kind of doing whatever. Now it's like you find a new creator every day, and and they've got
Yep.
tens of thousands of subscribers and videos with
Yep.
millions of views. You're like, I've never heard of this, so it's gone very wide very
Sure.
quickly, right? It's scaled rather rapidly, and I just remember some of the content that I used to like that I just didn't see anymore. So I was like, well, if I'm not seeing it anymore, that means maybe somebody else wants to see it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe I should do it. And most notably, that was list videos. And so the first couple, I was like, well, I haven't seen anybody do like tier list, so I started with some tier list
Okay.
that were probably pretty bad. I think I was using like a headset at the time, and the audio was
Well, you got to start
terrible.
somewhere, right?
But the goal is to just put it out there and
Yeah.
see what happens. And then like six or so videos in, I made a top five missing dinosaur videos, and that's my most successful video of all
Okay.
time.
I'll
Like
have
if
to
I
watch
look at
that.
like my channel statistics,
Yeah.
I'd like half of my subscribers, half the total revenue. I mean, like we're not talking about like actual money here, but
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah. I got you.
half
Yep.
of half of everything essentially has come from that video because it's got
Okay.
100, I think almost 200,000 views.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Um, and it was the top five missing dinosaurs, and the best part is Brachiosaurus, Stegosaurus. Spinosaurus, Mosasaurus, and then I think Parasaurolophus were on there. So we've gotten
Okay.
Yeah.
two of them or
Yeah.
three of them. So
Okay.
we
They're
need
listening.
more. But somebody is. That's what I tell myself, anyways.
Oh. Well, hey, that's all that matters is you're telling yourself that.
Yeah, I go to the store and somebody's buying the Brachiosaurus Discovery, and I'm like, they wouldn't have
That would be
had
great.
that set if I weren't here.
Dude,
The guy's like, "What are you doing? Get away from
Yeah.
me, sir!"
Hey, you have proof. You have proof.
Yeah.
You go back to the
I'm like, no,
videos.
no, but look, like security, please.
Yeah.
I
Oh.
go first battle pack comment, but I'll leave that there.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So when you started the YouTube channel, were you like, did you go to your brother and be like, "Hey, I'm starting a YouTube channel," or did you just kind of do it and then he came across it, or it just kind casually came up, or do you remember that like
No,
first interaction?
I told you. I was like, hey, I'm doing this. Um,
And what was
like
Wes?
and
What was your reaction to that?
subscribe. And
Yeah,
he said, we'll see if you earn it.
yeah,
No.
Yeah, no. I mean, so Grinch and I had always talked about Legos, and so when he said he was starting a YouTube channel, he'd call and we'd chat about a video or something, and he'd ask, hey, what do you think about this? And he'd either listen to my feedback or wouldn't, but that's okay. I don't.
yeah,
Um, but he'd call and ask, and I would. I mean, hopefully it felt like I was encouraging because
sure, yeah,
that was really it. I did caution him a little bit. I'm like, hey, dude, this was about the time all the YouTubers were really burning out, and there was some small controversies going on with people, um, and so I was just like, hey, just careful. Like a lot of these
yeah,
guys, a few of them are having some very public temper tantrums on YouTube, and a few of them are having to apologize for the way they responded to things, and one or two of them have already commented on the burnout. So I was like, I love that you're getting into this, but just be careful.
yeah, yep,
um but I was like, yeah, I'm supportive, and so that was kind of really it. I watched as many of them as I
sure.
could. So
That's that big brother support. All right, so then I think I'm accurate in this. February 27th, 2024, first episode of the podcast,
yeah,
correct?
yeah,
Okay, so
Technically.
yeah,
yeah.
okay, technically. All right, so whose idea was it to switch over to a podcast? And just give me a little background on that whole process there.
Well, I think I was making the videos, and Wes would be like, it'd be really, really cool if we did a podcast. And so I guess I'll give the credit to Wes because he said, hey, there's no like podcast focused for AFOLs out there. And then I had the platform, and I said, I like video editing, but video editing is a lot. You can
Yeah,
spend
I can
8
imagine.
hours on an 8-minute video,
Sure.
and or you could sit there for an hour for like a 20-minute, or sorry, like a 20-second section,
Yeah, yeah.
and then you like, if you ever watch Parks and Recs, there's that scene with I'm forgetting his name, who's dating Amy Poehler, who marries him,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Ben,
I know. Yeah, yeah, yep.
and he's doing the claymation after he gets like
Oh,
laid
yeah,
off from the government, and he hits play, and it's like doop
yeah.
doop 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 doop, and he's like, I just spent 3 days on that, and it's like
That's-
5 seconds, and like it can really feel like that sometimes with video editing, where you're like,
yeah,
because what you put in with all of this is what you get out,
yeah,
right? Pure and simple.
yep.
If whatever you put in is what you're going to
Sure.
get out. So if you're like okay with it kind of not being as polished, then that's what you're going to get.
Yep.
If you want it to be really polished, then you're going to have to put the work in, and it'll be really polished. um so you can, I kind of was getting burnt out on that aspect of, and I was self-taught video editing, but I'm
Okay.
not a great video editor per se. So
Yeah.
I was always wanting to do more and do better, but
Okay.
kind of knowing that I couldn't, I was like, all right, Wes, let's do this podcast.
So, Wes, you were the backup plan.
Yeah. Well, we would talk about Legos, and I was just like, hey, this is a fun conversation. We're we're bouncing these ideas off of each other. We're talking about, wouldn't it be cool if Lego did this? We're talking about our thoughts on, Lego and politics and Lego and real life and Lego and all of these different intersections that just kind of come through Lego.
Yep.
And I'm like, dude, like, we could record these conversations and just play them for
Bottle
people. And
Yeah.
it and mass produce this thing.
Yeah.
so that was kind of the impetus for what we did. And as Grinch mentioned, we had 3 practice episodes, and kind of on the first couple of goes, it was just like, let's just try this.
Sure.
I think we were just on Discord, and we
Okay.
were like, let's just see how this goes. We'll record it. We can listen to it. But it was kind of like the learning the legwork of the flow, and kind of learning for Grinch does a lot of the editing, well, all of the editing, and so him kind of picking up the editing piece of it, and yeah, it was really, just kind of the way we started. So
Yeah. Well, you guys, I just started a few months ago, and Mav, that you guys had on a couple podcasts ago, when I saw that podcast, that led me to watch you guys, and he and I've actually mentioned a few times in passing in other conversations is that the knowledge you guys have is just like it's astonishing. Like you two are just like Lego encyclopedias. Like I feel like I could ask you anything and you just know where to go with it or at least where to find it. So like how do you think you guys got to be so knowledgeable on a variety of different topics?
I think, to be honest, Wes and I had it really lucky that we had, God, give me a tissue. I'm going to be corny. You know, we had each other,
Yeah.
and not a lot of AFOLs have
Mhm.
that. Of like, it can be kind of a, I don't say a lonely hobby because it's like the Lego community is a really good community, but I feel like sometimes like you kind of get into the hobby by yourself. And
Sure.
so I think when we got out of our dark age, we both did, but kind of found separate paths of knowledge and different things interested us. And then obviously being brothers, we just started talking about Lego again. And I don't want to say like rekindled the brotherhood ship, but like it certainly strengthened it. So,
Okay.
Wes would say like, "Oh, did you see this from this creator?" And I'd be like, "Oh, well, I was on this website." And he was like, "What website's that?" I'm like, "You gotta go like this platform. It's called Stud.io. Like, look what you can do with it." He's like, "Oh my gosh, what
Sure.
is that?" It says from Bricklink. And he's like, "Well, what's Bricklink?" And he's like, "What's this?" And he's like, "Well, you got a brick economy." And like, "What's that?" He's like, "Oh, it's all this data." And I was like, "All this data? I love data." So we just kind of feel like it's truly like two pillars
Yeah.
of knowledge,
Yeah.
right? So combined, it really feeds, and now it's like we kind of know each other's tricks. So we got bored
Sure.
with that, and we're like, well, now we got to share that with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I say, I mean, it's not often that you can watch something and like there's no like research involved. Like you two just,
Oh,
I mean, it's incredible.
there's still research
yeah,
involved,
Yeah,
but
no, and
yeah.
but like the general, like you carry the conversations. Like you don't have to pause and then look and then pause and look. Like you guys are genuinely, I mean, unless you're just BSing me the whole time, you do a great job at it.
there's
But no, I
skill.
genuinely, I think you guys, are really good at what you do. Um, so for the podcast,
We do edit the podcast, by the
that's
way.
valid too. I guess. See, now it's making sense.
every
Let's
every
see,
once in
cat's
a
out of the
while
bag.
every once in a while there's a timeout. I gotta take a pee, when they go long. So I need more coffee. Like you're
That's
boring me
funny.
over here.
Well, you know what? That's the good thing about editing is you
Yeah.
you can't tell when something's edited. If you know what you're doing, you can't tell. So, uh, so how do you guys come up with your topics and like typically how far out are you planned? I guess you can say.
Do you want to take it, Wes,
Yeah.
or
So we, when we started, we initially had the idea of doing what we call theme reviews. And so
Mhm.
picking a theme and kind of going through all of it. And it's easier on some themes than it is on others. So,
Okay.
we have done them. And I think our most recent theme review was the Lego Ideas theme. And
Mhm.
when you're dealing with 22 sets total, it's easy to look at it across the board and say, hey, here's the history of the theme. It's been around from this year and this year. there's this many sets. We'd come up with figures and averages, and um, those are the things that interested, I think, both me and Grinch. And um, but we always knew we wanted to talk topics too, and
Sure.
so we practiced with the theme reviews because they were easy, but we also wanted to introduce the topics. And so we I mean, really, we did our first kind of half of the season, our spring season, and we kind of took that almost week by week, and we were like, hey, what do you want to do next week? And then we would kind of go our separate ways and research and come together. And then this summer we took a summer break, and we Grinch put together basically a calendar for the rest of the year, and he said, this is what I want to talk about, let me know if
Okay.
there's any changes. And we're both pretty receptive to, I mean, there's even some weeks where we're just like, we want to talk, we were supposed to talk about this, but I'm just struggling with this one. Can we?
Sure. Yep.
There was a few times where Grinch was like, hey, this just happened. They just announced the Lego Ideas, consideration sets. So like, let's talk about that and
Okay.
push our theme review to next week. And we'd be like, yeah, hey, I'm good.
Yeah.
We're
Yep.
about Lego. Fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh,
Um, now, uh, for the podcast moving forward, do you guys see any changes in the format that you guys do, or are you pretty content with where you are with everything and just kind of moving forward with it?
We have 101 topics that we've listed out that we have not covered yet.
Okay.
And at one point, we just stopped writing the themes because we were
Yeah.
like, theme review is one of the topics.
Yeah.
We have a lot. And I think poor Matt was like, oh, it's so much fun on the podcast. What can we come on next? I was like, January.
Yeah.
Because we have it all planned out. So
Okay. Yep.
we'll pencil him in here again too for sure. But it change is inevitable. Like the only consistent thing in life is
Yep.
change, right? And I think
Yep.
if you want something to really stand the test of time, I mean, the companies that we work for both have been around like forever. Like,
Okay.
there's a fun fact what I can't say because I'll say what company, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's been around a really, really long time. So,
Sure.
just looking at that as like a backbone of like how to be sustainable and successful, it's like you're gonna have to change with the time. So
Yep.
there might be times where shorter format content works better, and there might be time where longer works better. There might be time where
Yeah.
it's like, people really, so we're receptive to the feedback. We have, like I said, the Lego community is really good and
Yep.
just a great community to be a part of. So people reach out to the podcast all the time, say, hey, have you ever thought about doing this as an
Okay.
episode? Or like, hey, guys, when you do this, and there's different levels of feedback. Like some we definitely consider with more weight than others,
Sure.
because there's the constructive feedback, and then there's the just like I hate your face feedback, and like, okay, that can go in this special drawer over here,
Uh,
the garbage
yep.
disposal. But
Yep.
so there's um I I think it would be a fault of ours if we said, that nothing's ever going to change with the
Sure.
show. But as of right now, we don't have anything necessarily planned or scheduled. We're, you know, like Wes said, we used to just call each other and talk about Legos for hours.
Yep.
Now that's our podcast. So, now we have to talk about other brother stuff like
Yeah.
how's the life going
Yep.
and everything like that. So,
Yep.
we're always, discussing and open to change.
Sure. All right, so I have a couple non-podcast questions, but before I go into those, if you guys want to just promote your podcast, if you have any lines you like to toss out there for anybody following, and just so you know, this does get posted, so if people want to rewatch, it'll be there to pick up as well.
Well, it's called Playmobil Pals. We mostly talk. No, I'm just
Playmobil. How long were you sitting on that one? Playmobil
just
pals.
just
that's
the benefit of,
that's
of,
our
of
next venture.
information coming in. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes
Who
it
needs
comes in
Lego?
and leaves. Right. Yeah. Wes
Oh
Biden
man, that
with
was
the
a good one.
plug.
That was a good one.
Uh,
So
Um,
it's
all right.
it's AFOLs welcome. We're a weekly podcast. We do take a couple breaks throughout the year. Like we're currently on a break until January. So you can check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. It's there.
and
Okay.
an adult podcast, and what I say that is not, and we don't talk about explicit content, but we are having I don't know the right way to say that.
I
But
call
they're a
it an
tour
adult twist.
adult
That's what I
conversation.
adult twist.
There was a time when we were going to have an adult Lego podcast, and I was like, "Ooh, that makes it sound weird, doesn't it?"
But yeah, I mean, there's no, we keep the explicit language to a minimum. We try to keep it,
Yeah,
friendly, and we keep the topics pretty PG, and that's on purpose. But we are trying to have kind of a more educated and not like highbrow or like hoity-toity conversation, but
yeah,
a conversation amongst AFOLs about the theme of people who really enjoy Lego and
yeah.
what it means to build and be a part of the.
All right. So two last questions for you. You guys can go in whatever order you want. This is just one of my fun questions I like to ask everybody. So let's just say tomorrow you guys each get an invitation from Lego to come out and be a set designer. Doesn't matter what you design. You can pick any theme, anything. Doesn't matter what it depicts. What would each of you design to become a set?
My Valorant Lego set
I
that I
knew
just
that's where
created
you're
that got
going with that
rejected.
one.
It's
Take that, Lego.
beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, when you design something and you're seeing it for all of its flaws because you kind of built it and you're like, it's good, but it's not. This is like the one thing in life that I redesigned it like two or three times, and
Okay.
I was just like, it's perfect. And like
Yeah.
I spent a year building this thing, going through different iterations of it, rebuilding parts of it, and I'm like, it's there. And
Yep.
then I just go like submit an idea and it's like, oh, type the IP. I'm like, oh, this is a cool feature. Valorant, not allowed. And I'm like, a year of my life. A year of my life. So that would be the set.
So basically, getting back at the Lego ideas.
Exactly.
Well,
Okay.
and I'll
All right,
keep it
Wes. How
brief.
about you?
Near and dear to my heart. I think I
Yeah.
would have to do something related, but I don't know if I would stick with airplanes or if it would be something nerdy like airport, vehicles or something. But something
Okay.
airport.
Is there something that why you like airplanes, or is that like another hobby of yours?
It's my second love.
Ah, okay. We'll keep it at
But
that. Okay.
yeah,
Fair enough. Okay.
yeah.
Fair enough.
Uh,
Okay. All right. Do you guys have you attended any of the large Lego conventions or any plans to attend any?
We have. We went to Brick Fair, well, back when it was called Brick Fair, Virginia. We went like years
Yep.
ago,
mhm.
Okay.
years ago. And then recently I went to Brick World, Grand
Okay.
Rapids, and I'm for sure going to Brick World Chicago. I know Wes is still a plus or minus tentative for that one, but I'm going to build that Valorant mock, and it is going to be on display at Brick
Nice.
World Chicago. So,
Nice.
you know,
Well,
the
I will
two
look
dreams
forward to seeing
there.
that. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Mav and I have been talking about trying to get a group together to head out. So as far as I know, he and I are planning to be there.
If
So
you
um,
go to the Chicago one, I will go with you.
that's
Uh,
what Mav and I said.
buy
So
your
if Grinch is
ticket.
going,
There.
all right.
I'm there.
All right. So that's what, June 20
Ooh,
something.
I,
actually, I
Come on, man. No, you can't.
uh,
moving like right then, so we'll figure it out. We'll do it live.
Well, it is.
sounds like you'll already
It is.
be in a car.
Yeah.
Um. So did have you signed up to display at Brick World then?
I looked at it and I was confused because it said like bring your own thing to display. I need to look into it more
Mav and I were looking the other night, and it's very confusing, the whole
because other brick worlds are
thing.
invitation only. Like they have
Yeah.
to invite you to display,
Okay.
but this was like anybody can display, and I was like, that's probably not right.
Yeah.
Like you just show up
I
that
didn't
morning,
get that.
like
Yeah.
so.
There you go.
Like
Where
Yeah,
do I?
because
is
I was
this
looking.
Lego?
I, well, the tickets are confusing too, because it was like you can buy the week pass, but they only have 2,000 of those passes, but they're still offering sign up, so I'm guessing they're still available. I didn't really understand the whole sign up
Hmm.
process. So, all right. Well, then, if you guys aren't doing anything, then maybe we will see you at Brickworld.
Yeah.
I'll
So,
be there.
anything else you'd like to shout out or share, or your time to shine? Anything else?
Well, I would just like to thank you for inviting us out tonight
For
and
sure.
invitation. We'd love to have you on the
Oh,
show. And
oh gosh. Oh, please. You can't drill me though on questions because I'm gonna fail that.
well, we might continue the 1-star trivia. I think that's a really fun guess the set by the 1-star review.
Can
So I think
can I phone a friend?
that could be
You
an
can
option.
phone. You can tell me what your favorite Lego theme is, and I'll try to make it easier for you.
Oh gosh, that's not going to make it easier because I did kind of what you did. I just head first and
uh
oh well, I appreciate that. I do. I truly appreciate you guys stopping on. So yeah, I mean, keep me posted. Let me know what the schedule looks like. Obviously, I don't want to interrupt your normal routine, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to stop by. Whenever. So
absolutely.
um, but yeah, guys, make sure everybody watching, make sure you guys follow AFOLs Welcome, not only here on Instagram, but go check them out on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube, follow on here. Any big Christmas plans for you guys, or just kind of taking it easy?
Wes is going to
We
come see the
yeah,
collection in
yeah,
person.
yeah.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, before we head out, if you guys don't mind, I usually just like to share the upcoming schedule that I have going on here. So, tomorrow, I have a debut of my retail spinoff of Bricks and Beyond. So we'll be heading down to, not personally, but I'll be live from the Bricks and Minifigs in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And then next Thursday, I packed my Thursday. I have a 8 p.m. and a 10 p.m. So there will be two Bricks and Beyond next week, trying to make the Christmas season even more packed than it already is. So anyways, Grinch and West, guys, thank you so much for stopping. I do truly appreciate it. Very nice to meet both of you. I'm glad we got the cross paths here. Definitely looking forward to whatever you guys have in store. And then I am also opening the invitation for one day, once I get through the first round, to have everybody come back for round two, where we can kind of dig more into stuff. So
Awesome.
Well,
I'd love to have you guys.
appreciate
Thank
So, all right.
Keith.
Well,
Appreciate
hey,
it.
thank you guys both. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you guys say. I don't want to offend anybody. So, just happy everything.
it.
So, and wish the best to you guys and your families. I hope the mailman brings the delivery on time and when it's supposed to be there.
February.
So,
February.
okay.
We'll see. We'll see.
All
What's the
right.
track?
All right. Well, best of luck with that.
Thank you. Appreciate
All right,
it.
guys.
Take
Hey, thanks so much. We'll see you.
care.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. See you guys next time.
Bye.